观众朋友们，大家好，欢迎收看《洋厨房》，我是刘烨，世界美味与你共尝。都说啊，一年之计在于春。那在这个百花盛开、万紫千红的季节，您是不是也想把菜做得更有春天的味道呢？那今天的麦家秀啊，杨大厨就会来露一手，把春天的元素融到美食里。
Life can be complicated, so why not make things simple once in a while? One-pot meals are not all slow-cooked stews, and I've got a lineup of dynamic dishes that are bursting with flavour. This paella is a serious contender in the flavour stakes, and I'll tackle a one-pot pasta plate that packs a punch with just a couple of simple ingredients. We dive into the world of passionate Donegal chef Chris Malloy and wrap things up with a 5-minute challenge. One shot, no cuts, cooking against the clock. I'm feeling the pressure, so I'm going to stick this straight in the pan. All that and lots more coming up in Donal's Meals in Minutes. So what is a one-pot dinner? Well, essentially, it's an entire meal all cooked in the one pot. It could not be easier. And to show you just how easy it actually is, check out this Spanish veggie paella. Heat a casserole dish with some olive oil. Add the onions and season. Now add the pepper, garlic and chili flakes. Get the rice in with the wine, tomatoes, saffron and the vegetable stock. Bring to a steady simmer and cover. Give it a stir every now and again, and after about 25 minutes or until the rice is tender, stir through the olives and broccoli. Season with sea salt and ground black pepper to serve. As one-pot wonders go, this one is one that delivers on both substance and absolutely brilliant flavour. It is inspired by the flavours of Asia, and I always go to my holy trinity of ginger, chilli and garlic, but we're going to amp it up a little bit with some lemongrass and some lime zest. The first thing that is the core of this recipe is the paste. So to create our paste, I'm going to do this in a pestle and mortar, but before I do that, I'm going to give myself a little bit of a helping hand by slicing up one or two of these ingredients. Chili really adds that wonderful spice, and to put it into a pestle and mortar like this, you just want to slice it up so that you have nice little chunks, and the same with the garlic. So all these ingredients get popped into a pestle and mortar. So with the lemongrass, just tap it with the back of the knife, and you'll see that it kind of separates out the sort of harder core from the kind of woody end, and I'm just going to take off the end like this. This, in alongside our paste, will really begin to give great base flavour to this stew. With your ginger, there's no teaspoon here, there's no peeler. You just need a very sharp knife. So a nice little chop on this. And the last two ingredients are the tops of some spring onions. Again, this is something that a lot of people just throw away, but there's great flavour in those green tops of spring onions. So give them a nice slice. And I'm also going to add a little bit of lime zest in here. Now, the beauty of this dish is that once you have all these flavours in there and you get this paste bashed up, that is the hard work out of the way. All you've got to do is do some frying and some boiling, and you are done. Okay, once you've given it a bit of elbow grease, you should be left with a nice smooth paste. Now, this is exactly what you're after. You've still got a little bit of lump and bump in there, but all of that flavour has come together and you've got this really rich and vibrant looking paste. If you wanted to cheat ever so slightly, you could grab a jar of Thai green curry paste and that'll do exactly the same job. But having batched it up fresh like that, you will see such a difference when you get it into the pan. Now, to the pan, we're adding about a tablespoon of sunflower oil. You want an oil that is flavourless, not something that's strong. And essentially, once that pan is nice and hot, we're going to get straight in there with all that beautiful aromatic paste. It will spit and it will bubble, but don't be afraid of it. You want to start this in a really nice hot pan. All you want to do is fry this off for about a minute or so, and you'll notice the smell just wafted around the kitchen. And if you've used a really strong chili like I have, you'll get it up the nostrils and down your throat, and it'll be a full body experience. We're going to go straight in there with some sweet potato. You can use squash, you can use sweet potato. You basically want something that's going to cook in about 12 minutes, just until it's tender. And alongside this sweet potato, we're also going to go in there with a bit of substance from some basmati rice. So get that in there. And the core element of this part of the process is to get your sweet potato and your rice completely coated in all that fragrance and aromatics. So straight in there with about half a cup of water. That'll help our rice to cook out. But alongside that, and for some more liquid and some more flavour, I'm going to add a tin of coconut milk. Just drizzle it in, stirring the whole time. And this will ensure that it's nicely incorporated, it doesn't get shocked, and in turn, doesn't split. Now, we do have a lot of sweetness from that coconut milk, so to kind of counterbalance that, I've got about 2 tablespoons of fish sauce going in here, and without it, in a Thai dish like this, it just misses that savoury kick. So a good 2 tablespoons in there, and it's now going to sit with the lid on. It's going to cook out for about 12 minutes. I'm going to check the consistency. If it needs a drop more water, by all means add it. But essentially, you've got all the ingredients for a really great stew and a perfect one-pot dish.
After 12 minutes, give it a stir and add a little more stock if it needs it. Then chuck in some baby sweet corn and some sugar snap peas. Cover and cook for just 2 minutes more, and then it's ready to go.
The interesting thing about one-pot wonders is that every country has them. As Irish, we have the Irish stew, the Italians have osso buco, and the French have boeuf bourguignon. Now, I'm not sure this is exactly an authentic Thai dish, but it certainly encapsulates what is essentially those classic Thai flavours. The last little garnishes are some spring onions, some lime juice, and some coriander. With the spring onions, it's just about taking the bottoms off them. I've already taken the tops off them there in the stew, and really a nice fine slice on the diagonal. I'm also going to grab up a good handful of fresh coriander, and once you've separated the leaves out, we're just going to give a nice fine chop on those stems and stir them through alongside the spring onions. So I'm going to use about half the spring onions, all that stem action from the coriander, get it in there into the pot. So I'm adding a squeeze of about half a lime in here just for that kind of acidic cut. Give it a good stir through. Right now you've got a stew to be proud of. So it's all about the final flourishes. So take up a big spoonful of that. You want the rice in there, you want the veggies, you want that creamy sauce. And you know what? This is ultimate comfort food. It might not look like that with all the veggies and all the things that are going on in there, but creamy, soft rice, all those aromatic flavours. And the last thing you got to do, just to finish it off, is some spring onions over the top, a little bit of coriander, and then just slice up a wedge of lime that you can stick in alongside. There you go. I mean, you've got a one-pot dish that takes about 15 minutes to cook. It is booming with all those great Southeast Asian flavours. And for me, that is comfort food in a bowl right there. When it comes to one-pot cooking, there is a huge variety of kitchen equipment that you can use, from casserole pots to woks and even frying pans. And actually, this next dish works perfectly in a frying pan.
Slice the pork fillet. Then grab a chunk and give it a gentle bash with a rolling pin. When it's flattened, put one sage leaf in the middle. Fold and then wrap in a slice of prosciutto. Repeat with the remaining pieces of pork, then dust with flour and season with salt and pepper. Get your pan on a medium heat with some olive oil. Add the little pork parcels and let them fry for 2 minutes each side. When they are golden and crisp, add the minced garlic, green beans, tomatoes, and wine. Cook for 5 minutes before one last dash of seasoning and then serve it straight to the table.
Now, if there is one dish that is guaranteed one-pan success, it is my one-pan pasta. It has over 2.5 million views on my YouTube channel. And the reason being is that it only takes a handful of ingredients. It all happens in one pan. And if you have never cooked before, you are still guaranteed pasta success. Now, the core of this recipe comes down to the ingredients you use and the quality of them. So get your hands on some good quality tomatoes. By good quality, I mean juicy ones, ones that have lots of fragrance and sweetness. And they're going to form the sauce for this recipe. But alongside that, we've got a combination of aromatics. We've got some onion, some garlic, and some chili. And when you're adding these in, because this is all cooking in one pot, this is going to need to be sliced really, really thinly. So just take off the edge of your onions and take off the root. And with this, you just want really thin slices, almost as thin as you can go with the knife. With the chili, again, it's similar. You're just looking for nice thin slivers. Now, the reason being is that you want it to be all cooked through and to be nice and tender so that you get the flavour without the crunch. So we have our chili, and the last thing is our garlic. 3 cloves of garlic here. By all means, pull back if you want to, but I quite like my garlic in a dish like this, so I'm going a bit generous. The hardest part of the work you do for this dish is in the chopping. And beyond all that, everything else happens in that pan. Right, we've got all our aromatics sorted. We've got garlic, we've got chili, and we've got onions. So now it's a case of building this dish. And the beauty of it is that you don't even get the pan hot before you start this. So straight into it, we've got a nice pan that's going to fit the size of this spaghetti. Now, if you are trying this at home, do not use a pan you can't fit the spaghetti into. So it needs to fit comfortably in a frying pan like this. Important that you have nice high sides on this because we're going to add liquid in there for it to cook down with. Start adding in your ingredients. I've got some onions that I'm just placing to the top corner of the pan. I've got my chili and garlic that just goes to the bottom. We've got our spinach either side. So a few tomatoes in alongside here. The really important thing is to make sure that you have good quality tomatoes because they are going to form the basis of this sauce, and that sweetness is what we're relying on. Now, to bring this together, I'm going to add in a little bit of vegetable stock. You can use water here by all means, but the vegetable stock just adds a little bit of flavour and a bit of saltiness in there. Once you've got the liquid in, the important thing to remember is the quantity. If you get this wrong, you are not going to have perfect pasta. You're looking for 200 grams of pasta to 600 millilitres of water or vegetable stock. And that combination or that ratio is going to result in perfectly al dente spaghetti and a sauce that comes together.
Season with a generous pinch of sea salt and a touch of black pepper. Follow it up with a tablespoon of olive oil. Bring it up to a medium heat and gently tease the pasta to stop it clumping together. When the pasta and the veg starts to soften up, you know you're on the right track.
Okay, this is where we need to be at. We've got a tiny touch of liquid. The pasta, as you can see, is nice and tender, just about al dente. And as at this point, turn off the heat, get it straight off there. We're going to finish it in the pan. And remember, that pasta is going to soak up whatever little extra bit of liquid is in there. I just want to finish it with a final little touch of pecorino cheese. You can do this with Parmesan or you can do it with pecorino. I really like the sort of bite you get from pecorino. And I would suggest you take a good handful of basil and just tear it into your pasta at this point. So just rip it up. It has that really fresh sort of aniseed flavour that is just going to amplify the ingredients that are in there. Give it a last little stir through with all that gorgeous cheese. Look at that, you've got the tomatoes, the smell is spectacular. That lovely sweetness from the tomatoes just ringing through. Finish it off with a tiny bit of pecorino. And the Italians out there might not approve, but I can guarantee that this is a pasta that will have you to the table in less than 15 minutes. Put down the phone, don't call the takeaway. I have a 15-minute meal which is going to deliver on speed and deliciousness. This is a chicken cacciatore that is so simple, anyone can do it. My main aim with this recipe is to show you that you can create deep, dark, delicious stew-like flavours in 15 minutes. We're going to start off by creating the base flavours for this dish. Slice up an onion. You want nice, thin little slivers on your onion. Just like any good stew, an onion creates that base sweetness and that base flavour. Same thing with some garlic. Just nice, thin slices. Chicken cacciatore is essentially an Italian hunter's stew. And normally it would be cooked low and slow. But when you're stuck for time, low and slow doesn't really work. So we're going quick and fast, and we're still going to deliver on flavour. Right, garlic, onion sliced up, 1 pepper. You just want this in nice little slivers that are going to cook up quite quickly. Peppers, onion, garlic sliced up, that is the majority of the work you're going to need. And now we need to talk chicken. So I've got 4 breasts here. To speed up our cooking time, you're going to take that breast, lay your hand flat on the chicken breast, and just run that knife across. Essentially what you're trying to do is go almost all the way, and then you can lay it out, and essentially you've got this nice little butterflied chicken, which is going to cook much quicker than the whole breast.
Repeat the process with the remaining chicken breasts and make sure to wash your hands thoroughly when you're finished. Now get some oil into a pan on a high heat. Season the chicken with salt and pepper, and when the pan is nice and hot, it's time to get them frying. Season the other side once they're in, and while they cook, chop up some baby potatoes into quarters. Keep an eye on the chicken and turn them when they get a nice brown colour.
The chicken is looking good, it's browned on one side, and now I'm just going to nestle them all in together, leaving a little bit of space for our veggies, our potatoes, our garlic, and those peppers. Just take your time at this point, making sure those onions get coated in the chicken juices and that little bit of fat that's in there, and then just keep moving it. I'm going to try and help soften down the onions as quickly as possible here. While the onions are softening down, let's talk aromatics. We've got some rosemary and a little bit of thyme, and all you've got to do in this situation is just take little touches of them. And it might seem like a small little thing, but that little hit of rosemary and thyme, it just brings this dish alive. The minute they go in the pan, you can smell it, and that's a good sign. With this quick cooking dish, you do need to make sure the temperature is constantly up. So I have this almost at the highest heat, but because there's quite a lot going on in the pan, it's not searing at the bottom, or it's not catching at the bottom. And I'm getting cooked chicken, I'm getting those onions nicely softened. And at this point now, I think we can go in there with a little bit of white wine. You're going for about a glass of wine here. Smell, once that goes in, it's sweet and it's subtle. And you want to just bring that up to a simmering point. It's going to simmer away for about 30 seconds or so. It's time to get in there with some tomato passata, a really good store-cupboard ingredient. Pour in that tomato passata all over the chicken. Just start bringing it together. The wine, the tomatoes, all those great flavours. Now, if you need to top this up with a little bit of stock, just use some chicken stock. But at this point now, we've done all the hard work. The lid goes on. This is going to come up to bubbling. We're going to leave it to cook for 8 solid minutes at a high temperature, just until everything comes together. Eight minutes later, we have a chicken stew. Last little touch, some olives. And we've got some basil. Just tear those leaves in there. Give it a little stir, just to incorporate those ingredients. Grab up a spoon. You want to get all those great bits, the potatoes, the peppers, those gorgeous stewy juices. One of our butterflied chicken breasts just on the top. This is good to tuck into. Quick and fast has delivered serious flavour. As part of the show, I want to prove to you that in 5 minutes you can cook up a really decent meal. So we're going to make a steak supper with a bit of a difference. I have 5 minutes on the clock. I'm going to click start. There you go. Let's get into the kitchen. So, first thing we need to do is make up a marinade. We're going to fry off both our veggies and our steak for this recipe. I have some baby gem lettuce and I have some spring onions, which are just about falling out of the fridge, but that's okay. The spring onions and the baby gem are essentially going to cook off at the same time as the steak. So, for this marinade, we have some rosemary. Now, rosemary is a hardy herb, and it really works with any grilled meats like this. Take off the leaves, and you want to give this a nice fine chop. Just grab the knife. Now, with rosemary, like I said, woody herb, you need to give it a really fine chop. And once this hits that hot grill and that griddle pan that I'm going to be using to cook up these steaks, which does need to go on, it is important when you're cooking with speed like this that it does come up to temperature really quickly. So only about a teaspoon's amount of rosemary here. You only need that little hit of flavour. So that goes straight into our bowl. This is our marinade bowl that we're going to add a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar for sort of sweet acidity going in here. We are 1 minute down and I'm feeling the pressure. We've got 3 tablespoons of olive oil and we want to go in there with a bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Now, this is essentially a salad dressing. You could use it as a salad dressing or a marinade. Now, the veggies I'm using here, like I said, baby gem, spring onion, these are going to cook really quickly. But if you had a bit more time, something like courgette or aubergine or even some asparagus spears would be gorgeous here. Get those straight into that dressing. With your hands, give it a good toss. You want to get nicely coated veggies before it goes onto the pan. Not only is it going to coat them and flavour them, but it's also going to create a little bit of a non-stick action in that pan. That sizzle, that is what we're after here. You want to hear that sizzle in the pan. Get in there with that lovely spring onion action on the side here and make sure that you leave a tiny touch of space for the steak we're going to use. Now, when it comes to steak and when it comes to quick cooking, we are talking beautiful minute steak. This is ribeye cut really thinly and your butcher will give you that no problem. You're going to toss it in the remaining ingredients. I've got 3 minutes on the clock and I'm feeling the pressure, so I'm going to stick this straight in the pan. That is the sizzle you're after. It's going to cook in literally a minute or so on either side. Give the hands a quick wash. You want to get nicely cleaned up for your next stage of this recipe, which is to create a chimichurri sauce, which is an Argentinian dressing. This is full of flavour and it's a really great one to serve with any grilled meats. We've got the stalks and the leaves of some flat leaf parsley going in here and all over the board. In there with about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. We are 2 minutes and 24 seconds down, lads. We have to keep on going. A little touch of red wine vinegar. You want to make sure you get that acidity in this here because you've got a lot of sweetness going on in the pan once it comes off that lovely bit of char. So oregano or oregano, wherever you are in the world, goes in there. We got some salt and pepper and I can actually smell that my veggies do need to be turned. So keep your eye on this. And I think before we start a fire, let's stick on the fan. You want to make sure that you get good griddle marks. So this should be what you're after, those nice little black marks. They're going to give great flavour to those veggies. It seems like a strange thing to be cooking up your salads, but this works extremely well. That steak should also have a good bit of colour. Look at that, gorgeous char marks. Press it down and let it cook the other side. Back to our chimichurri. Into our ingredients, we have a shallot. Sweetness of the shallot is what we're looking for here. Goes straight in, and I've just noticed we have 1 minute and 31 seconds. I think I have all my ingredients. We do. Straight into that food processor, and you're looking for a nice blitz. Essentially what you're looking to create is a sauce that's going to coat over this steak once it comes out. I'm going to have a look at this. It actually needs a tiny touch more olive oil. Is that going to give me enough time? 1 minute left. That steak is actually cooked at this point, so all we need to do is get this ready to go. You do want that fine steak mixture, and I think we're in business with it. Right, steak is cooked. So grab up a serving plate. We're going to leave ourselves a nice bit of space to slice up the steak. That gorgeous griddle veg goes placed straight on the pan. This is seriously quick cooking food. We have 49 seconds to go. Spring onions, nice little bit of flavour going on from them, some sweetness. Steak gets plonked on the board. We're going to slice it up nice and fine. I'm feeling confident. We've still got 40 seconds. So just nice thin slivers, slightly on the diagonal. Take those gorgeous little strips of quick cooked steak and place them around your plate. Grab up some sun-blushed cherry tomatoes, which I have. These are a great little cheat ingredient to have in your fridge. Great sweetness from them. With 22 seconds to go, I have a tiny touch of pecorino cheese. Didn't I tell you we could do it? I'm feeling confident now. I've got 15 seconds to go. And the last little touch is the chimichurri sauce. We are nearly there. Okay, feeling confident, feeling confident. Here we go. A little bit of chimichurri on each one of those steak pieces. With 5 seconds to go, 3 seconds to go, I am feeling confident. That is a 5-minute meal done right.
时间过得真快，感谢您收看本期《洋厨房》，下周同一时间我们不见不散。